Has 2 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank Mr. Gao, my colleague from New Orleans, for bringing the resolution. And it's really a special time. And if you've been in and around the city of New Orleans, and of course so many people have been focused on New Orleans in looking at the bad things that happened to our city after Hurricane Katrina, but we've had such an outpouring over the years of people who have been wanting and rooting for and pulling for the city to come back. And I think what's been the most special thing about this past year with the Saints and their success that they've had on the football field is that it's really galvanized the city, but it's also galvanized the rest of the country. And I brought a football here that represents, it's got the Super Bowl logo, and it represents the fact that the Saints won the Super Bowl. And of course, we're here today congratulating the Saints on winning the Super Bowl. But this victory was much more than a football game. And not only do I remember back during the years that my dad took me to Tulane Stadium when I was a little kid, and as my colleague, Congressman Cassidy, talked about some of those leaner years, I think it's the resilience of the team, but it really starts at the top. And we would be remiss if we didn't emphasize the importance to our community that the owner, Tom Benson, has met. The fact that he bought the team back in the 1980s, but then the fact that even through some of those tough years, he made a dedication to excellence, that he was going to build a team, and he said it many times, that would win the Super Bowl. And there were a lot of people that wondered if that would ever happen. There were a lot of people that were crying in the city of New Orleans, not only when the Saints won the NFC Championship game, but when the Saints went to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl, because there were so many people who just thought it never would happen. But it did happen. And I think the Times Picayune in our local newspaper said it best the morning after the Super Bowl victory, and the headline was Amen, because many people's prayers were answered. And of course, the Saints are named after the Saints, and I think we had a lot of prayers from above, but those prayers were answered. But in a lot of ways, those prayers were answered by the organization that Tom Benson and his wife Gail and his granddaughter Rita Benson LeBlanc and Dennis Lauscher and so many others with the Saints organization who made that commitment to build a world-class football team. And if you just go through and you look at some of the great talent that's been amassed now, you start with the coach, Sean Payton. He did one of the more unselfish acts by actually giving up some of his own salary to bring in a defensive coordinator who truly helped transform that defense into what so many people saw and admired on the field. But I think, and as I talk about a few of the players that I really want to feature and commend, it's not as much the acts that they did on the field, because we saw what they did on the field, and it inspired people in the city of New Orleans. It inspired people all across the nation. And Drew Brees winning the MVP and putting up record numbers and 32 completions, a Super Bowl record, and Garrett Hartley with 3-for-3 field goal attempts and over 40 yards, setting a Super Bowl record. And who can forget Tracy Porter's interception return for a touchdown, and of course the gutsy call that Sean Payton made to start the second half to do an onside kick. All those were great plays, but it's what the Saints have done off the field that has really formed a unique bond between the Saints and their fans, and it's something that we've seen after Katrina. For those of us who were in the Superdome that night in 2006 for the Atlanta Falcons game, when they reopened the dome, when many people said the Superdome would never open again, when many people said New Orleans would never have an NFL team again, in fact, when many people said that New Orleans wasn't going to come back, that really was one of those watershed moments that galvanized the city, and it told so many other people that they could come back, they could rebuild, because the Saints came back. And since then, they've served as great role models off the field, and that's something important because we don't see that enough in sports. But Sean Payton's got his Payton's Play It Forward Foundation, and he's donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to do great things in the community and given money to other organizations that do great things in the community. We've seen Drew Brees, and of course, Drew Brees, he's gotten so many accolades on the field, but off the field he's gotten accolades as well. And his Brees Dream Foundation has donated over $4.5 million to various causes throughout the city, done wonderful things, helped young kids. He was the 2006 Walter Payton Man of the Year, just an incredibly high-quality person who's gotten involved in the community. I want to talk about Reggie Bush finally, and then today, by the way, is Reggie Bush's birthday. Reggie Bush wears number 25 on the field, and today's his 25th birthday, so we want to say happy birthday to Reggie Bush. But through Reggie Bush's 619 Foundation, He's donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to the community, and in fact, Tad Gormley Field, which is a field where many of the high schools in New Orleans play their football games, he donated $86,000 to rebuild that field after Katrina, so that so many young people not only can look up to athletes as role models, but also can have the opportunity to go and participate and learn about sports. So it's been an incredible opportunity. We appreciate what the Saints have done on the field, but we also appreciate what Tom Benson and his leadership and the team has done off the field too. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank Congressman Gow, and I yield back.